When you say acquisition season, what do you usually think of? I think probably you would think, A, it's Xbox, right? They're the ones that are in the habit of acquiring things. But if you think about it, uh, lately, Xbox had the one big splash before, months before the Xbox Series X came out. And basically, they had to do that. And one of the reasons they had to do that was Halo got delayed, so they had no launch exclusives or anything like that. And you look at it, and they realistically had no games. Like, they had to give people some kind of an idea that they would have games anytime soon. And thank goodness that they actually did buy Bethesda. I know people like to act like I said it was a bad thing. I think that it was a smart thing. I do, however, think it was probably a worse situation for a lot of people. Not me, because I have an Xbox, but because Bethesda games were traditionally multiplat. And I did hear some people argue with me when I said that and tried to claim, some game from the original Xbox or something like that. But let's just be real. Over the last 15 years, everything Bethesda's done has been, multiplat 100%. So it's apples to oranges. And then when you look at the way Sony has been buying their studios, it really has been organic. And I know people hate hearing that, but that's just the truth of the matter. I mean, if you think about it, how organic is it to buy Insomniac Games, who 95% of their games were exclusive to PlayStation anyway, or Bluepoint, where 90% of their games were exclusive to PlayStation already. It makes a lot of sense to do that. Same thing with like Housemarque. Their games were all exclusive pretty much. So again, two distinct different ideas, two ideologies, two different ways to do this, and now it looks like Sony has a lot of money for an acquisition, and this would be bigger. They have more money than people realize. And this supposedly could be bigger and more expensive than the Bethesda buyout. I want to get into it because I feel like people are definitely going to lose their crap when they hear this. And I love seeing that. I love it. Let's get into it. What's up, everybody? Crapgamer here with Crapgamer Reviews. Back with another video. Thank you guys so much for checking it out. I do appreciate it. Please like, share, subscribe. I would appreciate that as well. Again, it's been a fantastic, fantastic time. We're closing out the year, hoping to go strong. I actually think next year is going to be such a better year than this year in terms of games. And I'm not even just talking about exclusives. I'm talking about the third-party stuff, the stuff that we're seeing like Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad and Harry Potter, all that kind of stuff mixed in with the exclusives. We're finally going to get that next-gen goodness, and I, for one, am very, very excited about the entire prospect of that, and it sounds incredible, to say the least. But with that being said, according to this, a Sony investor says that PlayStation is in growth mode and could still have around $13 billion to $18 billion with a B, for budget in acquisitions. Now, hear me out on this. I personally don't want Sony to buy out somebody like Square or Sega or WB's studios or anything like that, or EA, whatever, Take-Two, or I know that would be a lot more, but I'm just throwing it out there because the Xbox guys, they all want Microsoft to buy all these huge studios, and they don't want them to buy these studios. And the most ironic thing is, listen, they don't want them to buy these studios because they think that it's going to lead, because you're already going to get those games anyway. That's the thing. It makes no sense. You were already going to get those games. They only want Microsoft to buy these places and studios because they want them to keep them away from PlayStation. And then in the next breath, they'll tell you how games on multiplats and how exclusives don't matter, and how games being on PC doesn't matter if somebody else can play them. But in this, like I said, they go back and forth. In one breath, they're saying that. In the next breath, they're saying, hey, buy Take-Two and make Grand Theft Auto 6 an exclusive. See, it really doesn't make any sense as to why they would do that. But yeah, this is so interesting to me, the way that this kind of comes about. So, very interesting to sort of see this come about the way that it did, that they could possibly pick up, something like this. And I'm going to link this so you can check it out. So, Sony Interactive Entertainment, the final and the biggest part of Sony is PlayStation. The last decade, Sony has strengthened its position as the most important piece of Sony. And with some necessary and well-placed management changes like appointing Yoshida as the head of Indies, Herman Hulst as the head of PlayStation Studios, and Jim Ryan as the head of PlayStation, has been hugely beneficial for the segment. Aside from that, they have finally found their stride on exclusive content, as in a place where they fixed their problems and gotten a hold on their entire segment, which allows for them to focus on expansions instead of problem solving, something their competitors needs to figure out for themselves. Now, even if Sony hasn't outright stated it yet, mergers and acquisitions will be one of the key points in this area. The truth is, while there are growth vectors for PlayStation, they are in such a great position already that they really only want to focus on expanding the amount of content for the platform and locking down the content exclusively for the platform. In a weird way, this is the opposite strategy of Sony Pictures, in which SPE makes acquisitions that help them license out properties, while Sony Interactive Entertainment instead focuses on locking away content from competitors completely. For now, the acquisitions have been securing important teams and partners for Sony. But this might not be the case starting next fiscal year, in which it's believed Sony, and more specifically Sony Interactive Entertainment, will be very aggressive with acquisition-wise. More on this a little bit later, but it is interesting to talk about it, and I'm going to link this, of course, when we actually see this happen, how they're going to be able to go out there and kind of make something out of this. So this is something that I feel like Sony has actually ironed out most of the problems with their internal studios, and the PlayStation 5 is going very strong forward as of now. The current focus is their growth of their internal studios, which have been insanely big. Goals for growth with their most studios, growing to multiple teams within each studio. Focus is efficiency, and a goal for almost every other developer being developed on a similar pace as Insomniac Games has been doing, which means 2 to 4 games development at each developer. At the same time, they want to secure content and teams they deem as necessary for the future growth and potential. Currently, they're in a phase of acquiring and locking down partners at Firesprite, Housemarque, and Bluepoint, and they will surely continue until around March of 2022, in which I suspect the strategy will shift towards more aggressive acquisitions to secure content. So they're saying after March 2022, expect them to be even more aggressive. He says, I believe Sony will see potential of growth within our VR is going to see huge growth. They suspect they'll lock down another 1 to 3 developers that are focused in that space. Multiplayer is also a growth area, and Sony sees the genre as a fickle one, as it's hard to tell if a game will be a success or not. This has been solved by signing partnership with studios like Haven, Deviation, and Firewalk. If the game is deemed a success, we're guaranteed to see acquisitions in this area. Aside from that, they're also expecting some kind of acquisitions in countries, in areas in which Sony is lacking. They believe there could be multiple companies of interest in the East, mainly in Japan and China, but also in parts of Europe as Poland or maybe even Canada, which would be very interesting to say the least. So yeah, I find that to be very interesting. One of the biggest development scenes in which Sony is currently lacking in. We also can't forget about teams that could help out with support, as well as mobile, which will get a push from Sony going forward. There's also the matter of Sony co-owning Evo and potentially wanting to lock down a fighting game developer going forward. So there's a lot to talk about within that little bit that they talked about. You know how everybody was saying Microsoft is trying out this studio or with getting an exclusive game, or trying out this studio. Obviously, Sony's kind of doing the same exact thing. And you absolutely love to see that. Like, they have some things. I would love to see a PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale Part 2 or something along those lines for a lot of very interesting facts. For me personally, I think that Sony needs to do a better job of having even more kind of varied content, and that's what I think a lot of people would agree with. So while it is true, multiplayer games don't tend to hit unless they're big, like multiplats and stuff like that. So going into a multiplat would seem like it might be a bit of a gamble, especially if you even look at even how Microsoft used to be, right? Gears of War used to be a huge multiplayer game, and now it's nothing. Halo even struggles. I mean, this new one could be decent, but as a free-to-play model, and that maybe could ruin the things that made Halo in the first place. So we'll have to see how that kind of works, how that kind of works long term or whatever. But it is very interesting to see how everything kind of works out and how these things kind of come about. But Man, imagine Sony going out there and making some big splashes. You know, I mean, obviously getting some VR developers would be huge, but you'd also have to think about something big. And I know I previously had stated, don't get a huge publisher or whatever, but what about From Software? That could be a huge thing for them. And I don't look at them as something that would really necessarily cost Microsoft, since those games always do so much better. And you have two exclusive from them anyway, with Bloodborne and Demon Souls. So would it really be a huge loss? I think that would be something that maybe Sony should look into. And they do have a partnership with them, which could be very interesting. With that being said, let me know what you guys think. Sound off, rate, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like. Thanks for sharing. All that great stuff. Have a great weekend. Crapgamer out.